The MCU is perhaps the greatest, most successful experiment in the history of entertainment, bringing the shared continuity and storytelling of comics onto the big screen in a universe whose scope and scale has and probably never will be matched again in the history of film and television. What started out with the bold proclamation of "I am Iron Man" has grown into a sprawling universe featuring heroes and villains of all different stripes and colors. What's amazing is that after over 20 films and 16 canonical, well, mostly canonical TV series, that people aren't sick of superheroes or Marvel superheroes. I mean, in over a decade, we've seen Marvel completely dominate all aspects of pop culture. We've seen dozens of other trends die out, like the YA fantasy book boom led by Harry Potter, the YA dystopian teen book boom led by The Hunger Games, and the gritty dark fantasy genre led by Game of Thrones. All these trends have risen and fallen, but the merry Marvel marching society continues to move forward with no signs of people growing sick or tired of it. So what is the secret to Marvel's success? What is the formula concocted by Kevin Feige, the Sorcerer Supreme, the man behind the curtain responsible for puppeting everything and keeping audiences engaged? Well, join me today as I break down and explore why most people aren't sick of Marvel, the subtle secret to their success, and that is the breakdown of the three main operating genres that make up every Marvel movie. So join me as we explore the mighty realms of Tech Marvel, Cosmic Marvel, and Magic Marvel.
You gotta love to be God back then. Love turns into time, don't you grab it.
One thing that Kevin Feige's always been very forward about in interviews is talking about how each individual Marvel movie tries to have a different genre it tackles, so as to avoid superhero fatigue. But I think that within the smaller subgenres, there are three different overarching genres that have defined the MCU. Their first and probably biggest reason why the movies have succeeded is Tech Marvel. Tech Marvel was kicked off way back in the very first Iron Man movie. The realm of Tech Marvel is more grounded in our world, but just has a super science twist that's maybe one or two steps beyond what we have. It's a world where the march of super scientific progress makes the Iron Man suit of armor a viable possibility, where special concoctions can create super soldiers or irradiated green monsters like the Hulk. Anything is possible through robotics, nanobots, or genetic engineering. It's relatable, but more importantly, it feels plausible and applicable towards our world. I'd say a big reason for Marvel's dominance and ability to break out into the mainstream is the reliance of Tech Marvel on creating a relatable world that feels compatible with our own. It's also the most malleable of aesthetics and genres. Within Tech Marvel, you can build all kinds of crowd-pleasing stories. For example, you could tell thrilling spy and espionage thrillers like the more grounded and gritty realism seen in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. You could also tell more lighthearted heist stories like the ones seen in the first Ant-Man movie. Tech Marvel feels like our world, just maybe a few steps forward with super science and fantastic technology. It's a world where a teen kid from Queens can get bitten by a spider and fasten web shooters from his own gadgets at home. This helps it feel more palatable to a regular audience who isn't quite ready to embrace more ridiculous characters and concepts like the Infinity Stones. But it's Tech Marvel that makes things feel more relatable, and I'd say most of the heavy lifting of the MCU is built on Tech Marvel's back. Included in the genre of Tech Marvel are the movies Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Captain America the First Avenger, Iron Man 3, Captain America the Winter Soldier, Avengers Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Spider-Man Far From Home, and of course the Black Widow. But despite the accessibility, Tech Marvel does have its drawbacks. Most Tech Marvel movies don't look or feel that different from each other, so when combined together, they feel kinda samey. It's easy to get franchise fatigue when you have so many similar movies jammed together, and the MCU overall has been faced with backlash because there are at least now 3 or 4 Marvel movies being released a year, and at this point, Tech Marvel is the least interesting just because it's the most ubiquitous with over a dozen movies, which is nearly half of the 20-something Marvel movies released so far. Which brings me to the second genre of Marvel, which is Cosmic Marvel. Now, you might be wondering, where do the Thor films fit in all this? Well, early in its run, there was an attempt to try and fit Thor into his own subset of Marvel fantasy films like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. They even got Shakespearean actor and director Kenneth Branagh to direct the first Thor film and brought in famed Game of Thrones director Alan Taylor to direct the sequel, Thor: The Dark World. The Thor movies did okay, but they were always the ugly stepchild in comparison to Captain America and Iron Man. So eventually, the fledgling fantasy brand of Marvel was pretty much destroyed in the fiery flames of Ragnarok, and Thor became folded into the Cosmic Marvel brand, where the character finally found success. And the real starting point for Cosmic Marvel was the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, where James Gunn's bright, colorful pulp aesthetic echoed the dirty, lived-in world of Star Wars. Hell, you could argue that James Gunn's Guardian films were better Star Wars movies than the actual Star Wars movies that have come out in the Disney Lucasfilm era. Now, the Marvel Universe wasn't just limited to Earthbound stories filled with super science. Things had gone to a galaxy beyond, creating a pulpy, fun, cosmic universe filled with colorful, weird aliens, along with cosmic godlike entities. But what made it palpable was the signature Marvel humor, or edgy humor of James Gunn, that easily turned the most unknown comic book team into household icons. This was also important, seeing Cosmic Marvel served as the signature endgame for the MCU's first major story arc, the Infinity Saga, seeing how Thanos would serve as the big bad who would manage to unite every Marvel character in an effort to try and stop him. Cosmic Marvel is still in its infancy, but it's very important to add variety and more heavy sci-fi material to the MCU. It helps keep things fresh and less earthbound, and the variety can do wonders. Throwing Thor into the cosmic realm of the MCU saved the character from oblivion, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the fantasy realm of Marvel and Asgard were completely obliterated. It was all a conscious decision to fold Thor fully into the sci-fi cosmic realm of Marvel. So far, the main movies that have made up Cosmic Marvel include Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians Volume 2, Thor Ragnarok, Captain Marvel, and of course, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. And we'll also include the Eternals when that releases. This area of Marvel is just starting to be explored, but there's a super big hunger for it, and now that more dweeby sci-fi elements have been made more palpable to a larger audience, there's a chance we'll be seeing crazier cosmic stories. And when one franchise flounders or fails to build an audience, as well, Thor showed that you can just throw them into space for a quick mulligan save. So I think this will be a crucial component to making sure Marvel movies don't exhaust audiences with superhero fatigue, because now the Marvel Universe is the definitive space action adventure place to play in. And as audiences become more accustomed to geekier and geekier things, the cosmic realm has become more embraced, ensuring that the boundary can be pushed further in future films. The fact that the big bad guy Thanos and the Endgame became the highest grossing film of all time just goes to show the big gamble of pushing for Cosmic Marvel has paid off handsomely. The final genre that has just been introduced, as of the time of this writing, has the least amount of movies or TV shows based on it, and that is Magic Marvel. It was first introduced in Doctor Strange, but has largely been a sleeping beast. Now that the age of Cosmic Marvel has reached its zenith with an Endgame, it's time for Magic Marvel to come out and play. So far, I'd say there are only two movies that I consider officially Magic Marvel, and that is Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi. Although Doctor Strange's profile will rise considerably once he enters into the multiverse of madness. Magic might be the greatest trick that Marvel pulls off because, let's be honest, mainstream audiences really hate magic, and for good reason. It's usually kind of cheesy and hokey and kind of dweeby in the way that hardcore D&D LARPers or isekai anime fans with waifu pillows are.
Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt!
Sleep!
Lightning bolt! Lightning bolt!
Sleep!
Lightning bolt!
There's a reason that the two of the biggest fantasy series, Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, kept magic element to the barest absolute minimum, so Gandalf didn't walk around throwing fireballs. But the signature humor of Marvel goes a long way towards selling the realm of magic they're peddling, or just disguising it as something else. WandaVision is technically a Magic Marvel series given the Scarlet Witch's newfound origins, but it doesn't feel like a Magic Marvel because most of it is rooted in homages to old school TV, even if it ends with a giant battle with two witches throwing spells at each other. They used the old school TV as a way to eventually make the magic battles more palpable to a mainstream audience, and it worked. Agatha became a viral sensation, people seem to love the Agatha All Along song, and she's even getting her own Disney Plus show. Shang-Chi started off as a fairly grounded martial arts movie, but then expands into complete magical ridiculousness as the third act has the flying dragons and spiritual darkness monsters running amok all crazy-like. Biggest move forward will be the Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness, where the magic side of Marvel will go on full display. I don't think it's coincidence that either that and the first three TV shows on Disney Plus each represented the three main genres of Marvel. WandaVision was Magic Marvel, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was full-on tech Marvel, and Loki was Cosmic Marvel, featuring different planets and all kinds of Doctor Who-esque timey-wimey shenanigans. Each of the series fitted into the three main aesthetics of the MCU, and I think the future success and relevance of the MCU will revolve around Marvel's ability to keep expanding the cosmic and magic genres under their umbrella to ensure mainstream audiences don't get sick of the MCU overall. But if even Shang-Chi can break records in the pandemic without a release in China, it seems they're well on their way to possibly maintaining their continued control and cultural dominance through a second decade of entertainment. But there very well might be a fourth genre in the works with the multiverse Marvel. The idea that each separate Marvel TV show, comic, and cartoon series is actually part of a single continuity spread across the multiverse of madness is an exciting prospect and a way to make sure that no matter what Marvel story you watch, that it's some form of canon building to a greater whole.
Believe what you're telling me. In your reality, I'm a character in fiction? Yep, and I'm an actor who plays you on TV. Excuse me, I'm looking for some guy named Stan Lee.
What? Spider-Man? You know, I guess one person can make a difference.
Even the Netflix Marvel TV series can be viewed as their own weird form of canon, letting the audience earn your own no prize by connecting all the separated dots and creating a shared continuity with fan theories. At this point, it'll be interesting to see if Marvel can ever fail. With the way things are going so far, it looks like that's not going to happen for quite some time. But that is the secret to how the Merry Marvel Marching Society continues to go forward, eviscerating expectations, box office records, and keeping audiences engaged. Hope you enjoyed that brief explanation of why people aren't sick of Marvel yet. A look at Kevin Feige's secret sauce behind his winning formula, and how even their most ardent critics usually wind up seeing the latest Marvel joint one way or another. I'd like to take a moment to thank my patrons, my personal squad of Avengers, the guardians of my monetization galaxy who support my work. Joseph Malty, Aaron Toney, Carla Hoffman, Walking the Steps, Bari, Shonen Ronin, and Eric Duchesne. If you'd like to join them and see my stuff early, and a few secret videos, which I'll never release publicly, then sign up and join the Lobster Pot. I'll see you in the comments section and whenever I put out my next video. Thanks for watching. Do the things that YouTubers usually ask about. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you whenever I put out my next video.